up, New Orleans? Happy Thursday. We almost to the end of the work week. Shout out to Oliver O.T. Thomas, wherever you are. You know we missed you over here. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt, and my super producer, Nyron Sanders, is behind the glass, holding it all together for me. But welcome to Thursday, y'all. Happy Thursday. It's almost to the end of the week, and the end of the week is going to bring us an election. December 7th, there's an election. On the ballot, you will have 4 amendments and a very important, very crucial school board race between Gabriella Bureau and Eric Doc Jones. That is on the ballot. If you live in that district, please make certain that you educate yourself on those amendments that are on the ballot. Please make certain that you educate yourself about the 2 individuals running to fill that last crucial seat on our school board. We have a wonderful lineup this morning. We're going to talk to Larry Barabino Jr., who is the CEO of NORD. We're also going to talk to Claudia Celestine. They'll be in studio talking about the NORD holiday update. At the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to talk to former Senator John Johnson about that upcoming election that we're having this weekend. He's going to talk specifically to Amendment 4. I know there were some concerns and some questions about Amendment 4, but as always, I'm going to break down each of those amendments today so that you understand what is on the ballot and what is at stake once you go in the booth and push the button. So as I stated, we have a very important election coming up this weekend. Saturday is your last time to vote for this election. Early voting is over. We have 4 amendments and one very important, very crucial school board race on the ballot as well. And I'm going to break down what your no vote means, what your yes vote means for those amendments. And so the first amendment is an expansion of the Judiciary Commission and reworked judicial investigation process. A vote for this will increase the number of members of the State Judiciary Commission and give the Louisiana Supreme Court authority to direct the commission to investigate judicial misconduct allegations. A vote against it will maintain the current 9-member Judiciary Commission and keep the Louisiana Supreme Court's authority over judicial ethics and discipline limited to action based on recommendations for the commission. So if you vote for it, it increases the number of members. If you vote against it, it maintains the current 9-member Judiciary Commission and keep the Louisiana Supreme Court's authority over judicial ethics and discipline limited to action based on recommendations from the commission. Amendment 2, a waiting period for final vote on budget bills. A vote for it would require lawmakers to wait at least 48 hours to review proposed amendments to bills appropriating money before they can take a final vote. A vote against it would allow the state lawmakers to take a final vote on bills appropriating money and send them to the governor at any time in the legislative session. So again, Amendment 2 is a waiting period for final vote on budget bills. A vote for it would require lawmakers to wait at least 48 hours to review proposed amendments to bills appropriating money before they can take a final vote. A vote against it will continue to allow state lawmakers to take a final vote on bills appropriating money and send them to the governor at any time in the legislative session. That is Amendment 2. Amendment 3, extension of the regular session to pass budget bills. A vote for it would allow lawmakers with a 2/3 vote to extend a regular legislative session up to 6 days if they need more time to pass a bill appropriating money. I'll say that again. A vote for it would allow lawmakers with a 2/3 vote to extend a regular legislative session up to 6 days if they need more time to pass a bill appropriating money. A vote against it would maintain the current legislative session calendar in which the House and Senate meet during a period of 85 calendar days in even-numbered years and during a period of 60 calendar days in odd-numbered years. Amendment 3 is the extension of regular session to pass budget bills. And then the final amendment is the revised system for responding to delinquent property taxes. A vote for it would shift Louisiana from a tax sale process to a tax lien auction process when a property owner hasn't paid property taxes and the local government wants to satisfy the tax debt. A vote against it will keep Louisiana's tax sale process in place for local governments seeking to satisfy a tax debt when a property owner hasn't paid property taxes. This one is a hot one for a lot of our WBOK listening audience because there were questions about them yesterday in the chat. Well, at the 8:20 hour, we're going to talk to former Senator John Johnson about this upcoming election, and hopefully he could give us some insight on all of the amendments, but he's coming here to specifically talk about this amendment, Amendment 4, which is a revised system for responding to delinquent property taxes. A vote for it will shift Louisiana from a tax sale process to a tax lien auction process. A vote against it will keep Louisiana's tax sale process in place for local governments seeking to satisfy a tax debt when a property owner hasn't paid property taxes. And you can find this breakdown on parlouisiana.org or on think504.com. Each of those sites have broken down those amendments to tell you what your yes vote would do and what your no vote would do. So if you want to read it for yourself, because I'm that kind of person, I like to see it, feel it, touch it, I'll print it, have it in my hand, mark it up, read it. If you're that sort of voter, go to think504.com or parlouisiana.org and print you down a copy, look at it, read it, understand what a no vote means, understand what your yes vote means. So this Saturday, when you go into the voting booth, you are informed. And also, if you live in the district where that school board race is currently still on the ballot, there's a runoff between Gabriella Bureau and Eric Doc Jones for that last crucial and also important school board seat. Please do yourself a favor and look up each of those individuals and make an informed decision that works in the best interest of children and educational outcomes. This is not a popularity contest. This is not a contest about who you actually like more or less. You just have to like the fact that this person will be in charge of policy that governs your child's academic outcomes. That is what this is about. This is not about anything other than academic outcomes, overall academic outcomes for all children in the city of New Orleans. Because even if it's just a district seat, that person will vote based on the district they live in, but in coordination with everybody else that sits on that board. So when you talk about who will be your next superintendent, that person will have a hand in deciding that because it is important. Our superintendent is stepping down pretty soon. They have to fill that vacancy. There's an interim right now, Dr. Fatima Fulmore. I believe she was Dr. Avis Williams' number 2. She's going to act in the capacity of an interim superintendent while the school board searches for a permanent replacement. But do understand that the person you decide to fill that last important school board seat will have a say in who your next superintendent will be for the city of New Orleans. So please make certain that you understand the ramifications of your votes. So that is what we have for this upcoming election. Please understand that this is your last opportunity this weekend, Saturday, to place your votes on those amendments. And if you live in the district where that school board race is on the ballot, you also have to vote for either Gabriella Bureau or Eric Doc Jones to fill that last seat. I want to take this moment to shout out the students, faculty, and staff of Martin Luther King High School down there in the 9th Ward. There was a student-led press conference that seemed to go really, really well. They are fighting for the existence of their school, and they're trying to change the hearts and minds of those who intend to close it. I'm going to very publicly say that I support that school staying open. I do not think closing our way out of failure is going to do anything to best meet the needs of all kids in this community. I don't understand how right sizing the district continues to mean closing schools or trading them off to entities who are not doing any better than the entity you're trying to take it from. I have a very strong opinion about that. You don't have to agree with my opinion. That's why it's called my opinion. It's not yours, but my opinion. I do not believe that closing schools is a way to answer the issues of resources, the issues of quality seats, the issues of quality individuals who interface with our children. I think the only answer is to go seek and find quality folk The only answer is to make certain that we fully resource schools. The only answer is to make certain that every school in the district has the same access, the same playing field as any other school in the district, so that we can make certain that every child has access to a quality seat. I don't understand a system that says it's about choice and then you have to have 12 options. If it's about choice, you don't need 12 options. And if it's really about choice, then the only choice is to make certain that every school is viable, every school is successful. And the only way we do that is to keep them open and fund them and resource them and staff them properly. So I support the initiative put out by the children and staff of Martin Luther King to fight for their school. And I hope you do as well. So lend your voice to that fight if you can, and just stand up for what is right for kids. So shout out to the students and faculty of Martin Luther King down there in the Ninth Ward. I also want to talk briefly about the New Orleans United Front. There is a meeting coming up on December 16th. They're asking you to bring your wish list, whatever you wish to see in this city, whatever you want to make better in this city, whatever you want to uncover and bring to light in this city. The New Orleans United Front is asking you to bring your wish list to their December meeting, which will be December 16th, 5 p.m., Cafe Istanbul. I will be your moderator for that event. Bring your questions as well. If you have questions, bring your concerns. We will do our very best to make certain that everybody's voices are heard and everybody's voices are respected. So we don't want you to feel like you are in the room, but you don't have a say. If you're in the room and you have something to say, write it down on the card, and we will do our very best to bring your issue to the forefront. So December 16th, Cafe Istanbul, bring your wish list for your city to New Orleans United Front's December meeting. If you need more information, you can reach out to Miss Alicia Plummer. She is a very avid listener of WBOK. You can follow her on social media, or you could catch her in the comments and just ask her for more information about the New Orleans United Front and their fight to make certain that all issues from all community members and stakeholders are valid and are heard. So if you miss an opportunity to interface with your council members at council meetings, you can go to the New Orleans United Front's monthly meeting and bring your issues there. And those people there are very, very good at making certain that the issues find their way to the forefront. So shout out to the New Orleans United Front and their monthly meetings that they have over at Cafe Istanbul. This month's meeting is December 16th, 5 p.m. So get up and get out and show your face there. Listen, before we go to break, I want to talk to you guys about there's a shooting, right? A shooting in New Orleans East. So they're investigating a daily shooting. It was seems to be an attempted armed robbery. At a location off of, in the 8400 block of South I-10 Service Road at about 7:50 p.m. According to police, 2 armed robbery suspects entered the building and were shot by the manager. I'm going to caution you that if you click on any news link, there's a video. If you do not want to see how graphic it is, don't watch it, because it is very graphic. One of the suspects, identified as Tiani Juarez, 18, was shot once. He was arrested and booked into the Orleans Parish Prison on felony armed robbery and gun charges. His bond was set at $35,000. One suspect, a boy, was taken to an area hospital where he later died. Additional charges may be forthcoming as the investigation continues. Police say the manager has not been charged in the shooting. The Orleans Parish Coroner's Office will conduct an autopsy to determine the exact cause of death and to officially identify the juvenile. They're asking for anyone with additional information to call the NOPD's homicide section at 504-658-5300, or you can report information anonymously at Crime Stoppers of Greater New Orleans at 504-822-1111. But as I said, the video is very graphic. There are so many opinions out there on social media. The video appears to show 2 individuals. One has been identified as a Hispanic young man. The other one, because they don't have any identifiers for him, I'm going to assume that he's below the age where you can release his information. but I do know he is being spoken about as if he's also Hispanic. I don't know. The article doesn't say, but the young man that was arrested, the 18-year-old young man, Tiani Juarez, has been identified as a Hispanic young man, 18 years old. He survived the shooting, and he currently has a bond set for $35,000. Lots of questions, lots of moving parts, but we're going to continue to talk about that case and a lot more on the other side of the break. At the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to talk to Larry Barabino and Claudia Celestine talking about the Nord holiday update, as well as former Senator John Johnson talking to us about the upcoming election and Amendment 4. We're going to try to get in his head about the other amendments as well. But stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Norman Robinson is back.
Can you hear me now?
And he's taking no prisoners.
Can you hear me now?
Each weekday, Norman Robinson brings you commentary with Off the Top.
The incident was shocking, disturbing, disgusting, disappointing, and sad.
Each weekday, Off the Top with Norman Robinson is heard exclusively right here.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. We're learning more about the armed robbery with one suspect dead and another behind bars. The shooting all happening in New Orleans East in the 8400 block of the I-10 service road at Sam's Meat Market Tuesday night. The NOPD says the worker who fired those shots is not facing any charges right now. This morning, New Orleans police are still searching for a suspect after an NOPD officer opened fire near the French Quarter. It all happened on Basin and St. Louis streets just after 6:30 last night. We're told officers spotted a car matching the description of a stolen vehicle. The NOPD has not named the officer involved in the shooting, how many shots were fired, or if the vehicle they were following was the actual vehicle reported stolen. Now, this comes as the NOPD is also investigating two separate shootings that happened yesterday. So far, we know one person was killed and another hurt. These shootings happening off of Whale Street and Bullard Avenue. The two close by, but no word on any possible connection. But if you have any information on any of these situations, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers. You know the number, 504-822-1111. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a wonderful day.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
Hi, this is Congressman Troy Carter. I ask that you join me in voting for Eric Doc Jones for Orleans Parish School Board District 2. Eric Doc Jones is a career educator with whom I've had the pleasure of working together on many issues of importance for our community and is ready to serve as our next school board member on day one. I proudly endorse Eric Doc Jones for Orleans Parish School Board District 2. Eric Doc Jones is number 12 on the ballot.
Paid for by the committee to elect Eric Doc Jones, number 12.
Greetings, WBOK family. This is Jason Clark, host of United Way and You. Be sure to tune in next Thursday at 12 p.m. when we'll be speaking with Melanie Richardson, co-founder and executive director of Training Grounds, a United Way funded partner. The topic will be the We Play, We Connect Family Resource Hub. Please tune in if you're able. Until then, we only have one life to live, so live united.
Tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon to What's Growing New Orleans, hosted by Angel Vanderpool. What's Growing New Orleans is a weekly conversation about developing and growing Black businesses throughout the region. Brought to you by the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce.
This is Brandon Henry, IT Director for Equity Media, wishing everyone a happy and safe holidays from WBOK.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer is also in the building with me as well. And before we went to break, we were talking about the shooting that took place in New Orleans East at, I guess it's a corner store, Sam's Meat Market, off the I-10 service road. And there are a lot of questions about it. There are a lot of there's a lot of context around it. The video is very graphic, but in the video, you do see two individuals in the store, armed in the store, demanding money from the guy behind the register. The two individuals seem to go in the direction opposite of the man behind the counter. And this took place at 7:50 in the evening, folk. This was not in the daytime, morning time, school time. This was at almost 8 o'clock at night. And as they go toward, I guess the exit is where the door is. I'm assuming based on the video because it's a little bit dark, but you can see the clerk then pull out a weapon and he shoots both of the individuals. It also seems in the video that once the young man was on the ground, I don't know if he reloaded the weapon or whatever, but you see him hop across the counter and continue to shoot the young man. So I don't know how this is going to shake out, but I do know as of this moment, the clerk has not been charged with any crime. And I do know that in some instances when you are participating in the crime and somebody dies, you as the perpetrator can also be charged with the killing of the other person as well, even though you weren't the person to pull the trigger. I believe it's called felony murder. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just telling you what I've seen happen in past cases where folk participate in criminal activity and somebody is unalived. So there's still a lot of work to be done with this case, and it's just an unfortunate situation all the way around. But I'll leave the policing up to the police and all of that other stuff up to the courts. But that is in the news right now. It's a deadly shooting that happened in the 8400 block of South I-10 Service Road about 7:50 p.m. One of the young men did succumb to his injuries. The other person did get shot, but he lived, and he is facing a bond of $35,000 and whatever charges they come up with. They have not said in detail about the charges, nor have they given any information about the second person, which I can only surmise that he's underage. I don't know. I don't know. The article did not say, but that did take place. But I want to pivot real quickly to the United Healthcare CEO who was killed and what the media is calling a targeted and brazen attack. The United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, was in New York City for an investor conference when a hooded gunman who was lying in wait shot and killed him outside of a Manhattan hotel Wednesday in what police say appeared to be a targeted attack. Thompson, who was 50, was fatally wounded outside the Midtown Hilton, and video evidence indicated that the gunman waited about 5 minutes as many others walked past before approaching his victim from behind and firing several shots. We based just on the video, it seems to be targeted because the video I saw, because they went to go and get like camera footage from in the area. He also went to like a Starbucks or something to get coffee or whatever he was purchasing, and you can kind of see him in there all covered up. All you can see is like his nose and eyes area. But let me tell you something. Somebody knows that nose and those eyes. I don't care how many clothes you're wearing. Your family knows, your wife knows, your children know who you are. I can tell you how my son walk. He could be in a crowd full of people all covered up. I can tell you his gait. I can tell you how he walks. I can tell you how he stands. And so hopefully somebody has some information to get to the bottom of this. Brian Thompson is dead. He was the CEO of United Healthcare. He was shot. As of this moment, the gunman remains at large. Police are offering a $10,000 reward for any information on the attack. The shooting occurred about 6:45 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. And I talked about that case because I want to bring you to the foolishness of Blue Cross Blue Shield. They are now saying that they're not going to cover the full anesthesia of patients when they go under anesthesia for surgeries. It says Blue Cross Blue Shield to no longer cover anesthesia for the entire length of certain surgeries in Connecticut, Missouri, and New York. And this has the American Society of Anesthesiologists up in arms. They're saying that this decision could jeopardize patient safety and increase financial strain on both patients and providers. So I started to talk about the United Healthcare case in conjunction with this case because I can only assume here that there's something, somebody's disgruntled about a whole lot of decisions that these top executives are making while they're also making obscene amounts of money, and the cost for care is being passed on to consumers and people who are living paycheck to paycheck, people who can't afford life-saving medications because things are just astronomically high here. But the ASA, which is the American Society of Anesthesiologists, an organization that has 59,000 anesthesiologists worldwide, expressed concern that this change will undermine the continuity of care provided by anesthesiologists during surgery. Could you imagine that if you're in a 2-hour surgery and your insurance provider is saying, well, we're only going to pay for the anesthesia for the first hour, you're on your own the second hour? It almost sounds ridiculous, but in the current state of affairs in this country, nothing sounds ridiculous anymore. You have to prepare for the most insane things to take place as, you know, as this country continues to go into a darker place, because how could anybody ever in a medical profession ever think it's okay to just arbitrarily decide the amount of anesthesia you want to time limit to somebody? This is insane. It says, with this new policy, Anthem will arbitrarily predetermine the time allowed for anesthesia care during a surgery or procedure. And that is according to the American Association of Anesthesiologists. Like, this is not an opinion. This is the organization saying this, right? If an anesthesiologist submits a bill where the actual time of care is longer than Anthem's limit, Anthem will deny payment for the anesthesiologist's care. With this new policy, Anthem will not pay anesthesiologists for delivering safe and effective anesthesia care to patients who may need extra attention because the surgery is difficult, unusual, or because a complication arises. And as a Black woman, the first thing I thought about when I read this was the maternal health rate, the death rate of women who go into the hospital to have cesareans to deliver children. They're already dying at alarming rates. And now you're telling me that a healthcare provider can decide the amount of time that if a person receives anesthesia. They're not asking the anesthesiologists who are against it. They're asking executives who are making boatloads of money to make decisions to make certain that their bonuses clear, right? And their Christmas money clears. This is, I think, one of those FAFO moments, right? Because we have to understand how all of this aligns to who we vote for and who we accept in leadership positions. This is scary, to say the least. In a strongly worded open letter last month to Elevance Health Incorporated, the corporate name for Anthem, Dr. Donald E. Arnold, president of the ASA, said the proposed policy was inappropriate and misguided. And that is the American Society of Anesthesiologists. I know I said association earlier. I apologize. It's the American Society of Anesthesiologists. And the guy that heads that organization, he says he's expressing grave concern about the announced Anthem policy to disregard well-established anesthesia time billing standards in Connecticut, Missouri, and New York. So listen, when you hear about a targeted attack against a United Healthcare CEO, it makes you wonder why a person would go after someone intentionally in that role and gun them down in broad daylight, early morning, while they're on their way to a conference. And nobody deserves to die at anyone's hands, because we shouldn't determine life or death for anybody as human beings here. And so, it's a very unfortunate incident, and you want to be very mindful about the victim here and the victim's family. But when you hear about organizations making decisions, life-threatening, life-impacting decisions to withhold health care from vulnerable communities of people already, folk can barely afford health care here. And now you're saying we're only going to pay for a part of your anesthesia care while you're under the care of a physician in our hospitals. We're going to say arbitrarily, you only get 45 minutes of anesthesia. I don't care if the surgery lasts 2 hours. We're not paying the anesthesiologist for the rest of that time. We're not paying for it. I'm hoping that somebody somewhere would take a look at this and just say absolutely not. I think if all of the 59,000 anesthesiologists get together and say, well, there won't be any surgeries happening here, they will have to think this, because the only thing that folks seem to care about is the bottom line. If they're operating in the red or if they're operating in the black. And if your hospital isn't doing any operations, if you're not getting any billing, because doctors are refusing to operate in unsafe environments, then these executives are going to have to come back to the table and reconsider this madness, because that's what it is. It's a madness. I'm only going to pay for this amount of anesthesia. I'm not going to pay for all of it. I think there's something really sick about that. I don't know how else to put that. I think it's sick to arbitrarily decide how much anesthesia you're going to give to a patient, even when the doctor, who is the anesthesiologist, is saying that this is going to put people's lives at stake. And we allow executives to determine that for us. And so I don't know what the anesthesiologists are going to do, but I think 59,000 of them have a whole lot of power if they decide to wield it. And so we could only hope that, somebody somewhere comes to their senses, or we could only hope that the 59,000 anesthesiologists of the ASA wield their power and force them to do something in the best interest of patients. Because when I read that, the very first population of people who came to my mind are the Black women who die at a rate that is already jarring at the hands of physicians, because they don't believe they're in pain. And so they don't give them the right amount of pain medication, or they don't start a cesarean early enough and women hemorrhage and die, or they perform a cesarean and they don't do the aftercare part of it well enough, and then there's sepsis or some sort of infection that takes them out. That's the group of people who I thought about first and foremost. And it's already a scary time for those of us who want to have children and happen to be melanated, right? We already have this fear of hospitals and doctors and what they're going, if we're going to come out the same way we came in. And when you hear organizations making decisions like how much anesthesia you can have, who's going to opt to have a cesarean here and that, when the cesarean may be the only thing that saves you and your baby? This is jarring. But in more jarring news, right? The president-elect is considering Ron DeSantis to replace Pete Hegseth for defense secretary. Pete Hegseth's nomination to lead the Pentagon has run into trouble on Capitol Hill over allegations about his personal and professional life. So if he ran into issues about his personal and professional life, his supposed replacement, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, is now on the radar to replace him in terms of the nomination to lead the Pentagon. They said Hegseth's chances of making it through the United States Senate confirmation have been bogged down by revelations that he was accused of sexual assault, which he denies and for which he has never faced charges, and by a whistleblower report first detailed by the New Yorker. Now, I find it almost hypocritical that they're trying to stop a confirmation of somebody that was accused of sexual assault, but they voted for somebody who was convicted of sexual assault. Yeah, the math is just not mathing for me. I don't know about y'all, but it ain't mathing for me. And if you want to join in this conversation because you're befuddled as I am, the number here is 504-582-9422. So they're not confirming him because he's accused of sexual assault, which he's denying, and he has never faced charges for it. But they overwhelmingly voted for and elected a person who was convicted of sexual assault. Help me out, Papa Baptiste. Good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Come on, say about Doc.
Ça va
Peace and
bien?
blessing to you and hey, thank you, my dear. Everybody at the stations, peace and blessings. I'd like to briefly get into the cesarean part that you were talking about, because I've had a situation. I have 14 kids, 7 sons and 7 daughters, and I'm not a baby's daddy. Go ask all 14 of my kids, am I father? That's all you have to do. And to have three of them to be exact, I know about ectopic pregnancy. Men don't know about that unless you had kids and you're involved in a woman that's having the children for you, with y'all having the kids together. And that's a dangerous situation. They don't know about the fallopian tubes that could end a woman's way to have children. So for somebody to talk about, and I know how painful a cesarean, because I was in the room. So for somebody to talk about not giving these ladies the comfort to deliver in peace and know that they're going to come out it the same way they went in, with just a little small scar. And oh, by the way, I think from a racial standpoint of view, they have been pushing these women to have that a little bit too much, especially African-American women and people of color, when a natural break can be attained. So peace and blessings. I love all you guys. All you men need to speak up about some of the situations that you've been in with the women that you loved and cared about and the children that you have. God bless y'all.
Thank you, Papa Baptiste. Listen, there are a number of reasons why these decisions are being made, and none of them have the best interests of people at the forefront. This is all about money that they can make. It's all about increasing their portfolios, and it's just greed. Because I just don't understand how anybody can go into a room full of folk who I could only imagine are wealthy white men by and large, and make decisions that impact communities of people who they only see as line items, with no care for what that actually looks like in terms of human capital. I think it's a very scary reality to have executives making life and death decisions for patients against the expertise of doctors. And so, and again, that's the whole reason we have different professions in this country, because we can't all be good at all things. Like, we have lanes and we should stay in them. And if the anesthesiologist is saying this is bad for business, I'm just not certain, how this even made it outside of the boardroom. It sounds so silly and so egregious, and so it's some words I can't say on the air. That's why I'm always searching for words, because baby, I season my words when I'm not on the air, and I can't do that here. So I'm trying very, very hard to be nice, but this is sickening to me. It's very sickening. And then the article, it literally says they're going to arbitrarily decide. So that means they're looking in folders and they're deciding based on whatever the folder says about the demographics of that person, about the ability to pay from that person, the race of that person, the ethnicity of that person. It's just sickening to think about executives making life or death decisions for people because they want to just earn more money. And let's not even talk about all the claims they deny that ought to be, you're denying people health care and your people are paying premiums and co-pays that they can't afford. And the moment you need to use your insurance, it's nowhere to be found for you. It's all sorts of red tape. And so when you think about a man waking up with murder on his mind and dressing himself in attire to obscure his identity and lying in wait to kill a man, a healthcare executive, you have to ask yourself, where are we going in this country? What direction are we going? Where folks are trading their very freedom in their lives to settle scores because they're being disserviced by the entities that they're paying into. This is scary to think about it. I don't know if y'all remember the movie John Q, but I do. And if you don't, you should look it up, because it's going to tell you the story about what a father would do for his son when hospitals and executives are denying them life-saving care. You're pushing people to the brink. You're pushing people to do things they wouldn't otherwise do. What happened to that CEO is a real-life John Q script. We have to do better by folk. These entities have to be held accountable. We're going to continue this conversation on the other side of the break. And if you want to join in, the number here is 504-582-9422. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Rain continues for the morning commute, ending by mid-morning. A few lingering showers possible as that cold air continues to move through. Expect a mostly cloudy and breezy day after that. Highs will be into the mid-60s, but that's early on. As we get into the afternoon, those temperatures continue to fall. We'll be into the 50s for majority of the afternoon and the evening. There's a cold weather advisory for the North Shore Friday morning. Wind chills possibly 18 to 25 degrees. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
People's Health has a new Medicare plan designed for people with diabetes, chronic heart failure, or cardiovascular disorders. It features a monthly over-the-counter allowance, lower costs for a number of prescriptions, and lower specialist copays than non-special needs plans from People's Health. To learn more about a chronic special needs plan, call 1-844-663-2135. Plans are insured through United Healthcare Insurance Company or one of its affiliated companies, a Medicare Advantage organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in the plan depends on the plan's contract renewal with Medicare.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank. There's freedom here.
This is Eddie Francis, your friendly neighborhood WBOK fill-in. Happy holidays to you and yours. Don't eat too much, just enough.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
We are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt, and my super producer, Naren Sanders, is behind the glass, holding it all together for us, y'all. Y'all got to shout out Naren every now and then. He keeps us together here at WBOK. But before the break, we were talking about the insanity that is the lust and greed of money. And how it impacts everyday people who depend on systems to work for them. We pay into these systems, and then when we need them, we expect them to be there. And if you're just joining us, we were talking about the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, who was brazenly gunned down in New York City by a lone gunman who he laid in wait for him. He was walking into a hotel to go to a conference, and he was shot dead by this unknown gunman. And, you know, we don't know why, but when we think about decisions that are being made by these executives, you have to wonder if this is just some one-off thing or if this is directly correlated to the refusal of care, the denial of care, the cost of care, because we hear stories like doctors, executives now telling anesthesiologists they're not going to cover the entire cost of anesthesia during surgery in states such as Connecticut, Missouri, and New York. And I would say it's going to start there. You know, as with anything, they pilot it certain places and then they infect us with it all over this country. And it's so crazy because I was watching a video the other day about a black man who moved to Thailand. And he had culture shock because all of the things that made his anxiety high about affordability of living in the United States of America, those concerns aren't present in Thailand. He was wondering why, things that are happening here, this is supposed to be, this great utopia, but everything is high here. Your food is killing you here. You can't afford to live here. And then you go to another country and you're blown away by the freeness of certain things, right? And I say free because there's no charge in certain countries to go to a doctor and find out what's wrong with you, right? They're not charging you to educate yourself in certain countries. But here, that's what we face, and we think it's normal until we go elsewhere. And we find that we are actually living in a different space in time, right? But that's the conversation we're having. We're talking about how executives can arbitrarily make decisions that could actually cost people their lives. And I know there's some nurses in the WBOK listening audience right now, former nurses, some healthcare professionals. You have to know that this is going to further harm Black women when you make a decision to only cover a certain portion of anesthesia, when you're pushing cesareans on Black women. I had a cesarean, after pushing for 13 hours, telling them I couldn't do that, but they didn't have my medical records because I had my son during Katrina, right? It's scary out here for us. Good morning, Eric. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Yeah, God bless you. How you doing?
I'm great, and you?
Good, good. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation you're talking about. Now, some surgeries, can be avoided by lifestyle. Say, for example, maybe prostate removal. Sometimes lifestyle can enlarge the prostate or promote prostate cancer. So that's something that men can try to prevent from having some kind of prostate surgery. Coronary artery bypass, that's another surgical procedure that can possibly be avoided by lifestyle changes in terms of stress and diet. So there's certain things we have to try to, or cataract surgery also can be impacted by a proper diet. So there's certain things that we can avoid some of these surgeries if they want to decrease how much payment they're going to put forth towards the surgery. But like you're saying, cesarean, sometimes it's going to be hard to avoid having a cesarean surgery or appendectomy. So certain things we have to do what we can to avoid these surgeries that the insurance companies may not pay for, and have a proper lifestyle so we won't be caught up in that trick bag that they're trying to put us in. So there's some bad news possibly on the horizon, but there are some ways that we can try to prevent these situations from occurring.
Well, I appreciate your insight. Thank you, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Ms. Jones. Welcome to the Good Morning. Oh, we lost her. Did she go? Ms. Jones will call back. And I definitely agree. There are certain surgeries that we can prevent. And I want to be very clear here. The man that lost his life was a father and a husband. And, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his wife, Paulette, and his sons. He has 2 teenage sons, ages 19 and 16. And I think that's a very horrible way to learn that your father is no longer here, because every news outlet everywhere is covering it. And you get to see in real time what happened to your dad being played over and over. That is awful. It's very, very awful. And it's so sad, all of the collateral damage that greed causes, because I would like to understand why certain things happen. And when you hear, and it was so callous the way that the anesthesiologist story came out on the heels of the murder of the UHC CEO. So it almost was like the media wanted us to put those two storylines together. Good morning, Ms. Jones. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Good morning to everybody. I'm going to consistently say it's part of purging population every way, form, and fashion for people to die out. During the COVID, the height of it, many medical people lost their lives. What more do they want? You're going to stop halfway in a surgery, and then they're going to get him for malpractice? What has it come to? Yeah,
it seems they're pushing the onus on the surgeons and on the doctors, because what they're basically saying is that's what they're going to cover. Now they're forcing the doctors and the anesthesiologists to be in a position to say if they want to elect to do these surgeries. Because how can you, in good conscience, start a surgery that you know is going to be 2 hours, but the anesthesia is only going to cover 45 minutes of it? For example,
right, and then if
that's
you
insane.
Triple the time that you anticipated to be.
It's going to go longer. Yes.
Right, and because you just don't know. I bet if a doctor was in a crowd and somebody got injured, and the first thing they holler, is there a doctor in the house?
Absolutely.
And if that doctor doesn't go forward, I understand under the Hippocratic Oath, one of those oaths, if they don't try, that doctor doesn't try to help in any way, that doctor could be held and fined. Is there a doctor in the house? And he'll hide. Then somebody will say, oh, that was a doctor. They'll call him forward. He'll be persecuted all kinds of ways. What has this sick society come to? Like you say, overseas is quite different. Some of the forms of socialism are not as bad as people think. People have been living in it for years until they die.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ms. Jones. As always, we appreciate your commentary here at WBOK. Have a wonderful morning.
I appreciate you and now OT and everybody else.
Thank you. So listen, and to add further to the hypocrisy of it all, as I'm reading the article, words and language, they matter. And when you hear a large outlet such as CNN saying things like the shooter appears to be light-skinned, right? That's what CNN said. The shooter appears to be a light-skinned male. He's wearing a light brown or cream-colored jacket, a black face mask, sneakers, and a very distinctive gray backpack. That's what CNN put out in terms of the description of a shooter. And, there's some very clear pictures of him here. All you can see are his hands and his nose and eye area of his face. And it says that the individual is sought in connection to the investigation. And he got away on a bike. He didn't have a getaway car. He didn't have he didn't jump on a train. He got on his bike and he rode away from the scene. And so listen, I think that the media set this up so that we can talk about the murder of this executive, because right when this murder took place, the story dropped about these executives from Blue Cross and Blue Shield only wanting to cover anesthesia for a certain part of a surgery. And so it's no mistaken why they did it the way they did it. And that's what we have to understand. Like, we have to be mindful of the things that the media feeds us and the takeaway they want us to have from it. But but this is very clear. I read the story, saw the article, all of that about this guy being shot. But the moment I read it, my thoughts and my concern immediately went to Black women and the lack of care we already receive, and how we die in childbirth at rates that far outpace our counterparts, right? That's where my mind went. And I hope as a person listening to this Black radio station that's also where your mind went, because we know things are always targeted for us first. We're always the guinea pigs. We're always the experimental group, right? At some point, we have to opt to be the control in these situations. And so listen, on the other side of the break, we're going to talk to Larry Barabino, CEO of Nord, and Claudia Celestine. They're going to talk to us about the Nord holiday update. Stay with us. WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. President-elect Trump is nominating former Georgia Senator Kelly Loeffler to lead the Small Business Administration. Loeffler, who served briefly in the Senate, will need Senate confirmation. AT&T, JP Morgan Chase, and Dunkin' have pulled ads from Twitch over allegations of promoting anti-Semitic content. This follows a campaign linked to a banned streamer, Stephen Destiny Bonnell, who has accused streamer Hassan Piker of anti-Semitism. American students' math scores have significantly declined since the pandemic. The trends in the International Mathematics and Science Study shows 8th grader scores dropped 27 points from 2019 to 2023, the largest decline since the test began in 1995. And the Mega Millions jackpot is rolling over again with no grand prize winner in Tuesday night's drawing. That means the next drawing coming up on Friday will be worth a massive $579 million. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
New Schools for New Orleans wants to send a huge congratulations to all of our educators, students, and families of New Orleans for their continuous academic growth. School performance scores have been released from the state. For the first time in many years, there are no failing schools in New Orleans Public Schools. As a district, our performance increased by 4 points. In addition, Orleans Parish now exceeds pre-COVID school performance score for all students by 6.2 points. When you see a teacher, school leader, or student, be sure to show them some love.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White, and my super producer, Nyron Sanders, is behind the glass. Well, listen, I told you guys that we were going to be talking to CEO Larry Barabino and Claudia Celestine, but what I did not say is we're going to be talking to CEO Larry Barabino and my soror of the illustrious Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, Claudia Celestine. Good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. How are you? Look, Larry, what you say? You slid in here like Eddie Kane?
Like Eddie Kane.
But you made it.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So listen, we're going to talk about the Nord Holiday Update, and I'm hearing that y'all have this wonderful Holiday in the Park celebration happening at Joe Brown. You want to tell us about that, Soror?
Well, Holiday in the Park at Joe W. Brown Memorial Park is an event that has been occurring annually for at least 4 years. It's produced under the umbrella of Nordsea, and we have been blessed to have Larry Barabina working with us each year and giving us his expertise, giving us resources, giving us just that opportunity to shine, to have the East to shine. So we are happy.
I'm happy as well because it says here that this is the 5th year that Holiday in the Park transforms Joe W. Brown Park into a winter wonderland featuring dazzling lights, joyful music, delicious food, heavy on the food, and an inviting community atmosphere. Visitors can stroll through the park to enjoy festive decorations and drop off letters to Santa at the Joe W. Brown Gym. Now, is this free?
It's absolutely free, and it's for community, by community.
And listen, you know, Oliver likes to say free is better than cheap. So, like, that's what Oliver says. And you heard it here. The man says, because you are the man, says it is for community, by community. Is there a time frame for this event?
Yes. So the event runs from, we kicked off on Monday, December 2nd, but we're running it all the way up until to January 5th. The 4th, more or less, that Saturday will be really the last day that we light it up in Joe Brown Park. But it starts from dusk, and the gates lock up about 9, 10 o'clock at Joe Brown each night. And again, it's free to the community, but it's not free to Nord. It's not free to that committee that goes out to raise funds. And so while we're talking, I want to put out in the front, in the middle, and the end, anyone that's interested in being a sponsor, contributing, having your banner hung, your name hung, you can donate to Nord's Foundation. It's a 501c3, and all proceeds donated to Holidays in the Park goes to Holidays in the Park.
Spoken like a real CEO, right? So, Sora, can you tell us more about the origins of Holiday in the Park and how it has evolved over the years?
So that's why you have that little alteration. And is it 4 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 3 years? Because it has totally evolved. It evolved as a community partnership with certain people. And it started out with decoration of trees. You could go in, select a tree in the park, and you could just decorate it to your liking. So we wanted to elevate that to a more grander scale. So for at least the last 3 years, we have had commercial, industrial, very durable pieces that has been added to the park.
So, Larry, is Joe Brown the only place where we can see holiday lighting in terms of Nord?
It's not.
Okay.
But Joe Brown is the jewel of Nord, 64 acres. However, thanks to Councilman King, we have lit up the front end of Morris FX Jeff, the old Berman, from General Meyer. You can drive through and see that. And thanks to Councilman King and for making sure we have funding to do that. And also thanks to Councilman Green, we've lit up the front of Milne, Nord's main headquarters. That has been lit up as well. But Joe Brown is that Jew. Joe Brown is in a slow pace of becoming a celebration in the Oaks and becoming a Lafreniere. But at this point, it's free. It's free for the public.
And to me, that makes all the difference because you named some of these other entities that have the lighting, but it isn't free. It's rather expensive to take part in. And if you're a family with multiple children, you just can't afford to even have that experience. So shout out to Nord for not only making certain the event is festive, but that it is free and it accommodates families of all walks of life, right? Because, I mean, as a young parent, there's certain things I just couldn't afford. Right. You just can't afford it. And so I appreciate that opportunity to have parents partake in something that doesn't cost them anything to do it. So can you describe the atmosphere that visitors can expect when walking through the park during the celebration?
But before she do that, I got to stick my plug in one more time.
Come on, plug.
For those that want their name, their company name, their philanthropic dollars to go to where it makes an impact to community in some middle to low income communities, please donate to Nord Foundation in care of for Holidays in the Park, to make sure that we not only can continue to do this, but we can grow it.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about what families can experience, what any senior can experience, because we have a wealth of senior citizen communities in the East, we have a wealth of neighborhoods where we have different economic stratas present. So we want to touch every sector in our communities, be it nearby neighboring communities or citywide. So when you come in, you can expect to see a walking path that is lit with trees, that has a great angel that is very regal. You can expect to see Santa, big and grand, waving his hand. You can expect to see a campfire scene where they're out roasting marshmallows. You can expect to see, even we're trying to get the NPHC involved in this. We're just trying to get community organizations to come in, embrace what is uniquely ours, and to contribute, to be a part of it. So we want you to come out to walk it, to come in and see Santa. We had the most gorgeous Santa last year, and we hope to have the same one this year. He was very accommodating. He was, young people, old people wanted to sit by Santa and just whisper in his ear. We have red trucks, we have poinsettias, we have just different points of interest that is unique to us.
So, Larry, what prompted the decision to expand Holiday in the Park to additional locations, such as the Morris F.X. Jeff Recreation Complex and the Nord Administration Building?
So Nord, our motto is something for everyone. And Nord is citywide. So anytime we do something for Nord strategically, myself, my team, we think, how can we touch, and we consider 4 corners of the city of New Orleans. When you talk about Nord and you talk about the 4 corners of the city of New Orleans, you have New Orleans East, you have Algiers, you have Uptown, you have Downtown. So how can we be equitable? Because we know that as much as we try, sometimes folks from the West Bank can't travel to the East Banks. There are times folks from New Orleans East can't travel Uptown. And sometimes Uptown can't make it to New Orleans East. So we try to be as equitable as possible because 80% of the kids and families we serve falls within that low-income guideline. And so we know as much as a parent might want to go to Joe Brown and see the lights that they might can't afford it, don't have transportation, can't come out of Gentilly. Well, let's make it to over to Milne. A family that's in Algiers can't come to the East Bank. Well, let's make it to Morris Jeff Berman, right? And this is year 1 of both of those, so those will have the opportunity to grow. But again, our jewel is Joe Brown because it have that capacity. The great thing about Joe Brown is it has locking gates. We can lock it closed at night and not worry about items being stolen or taken. And that's one thing that I want to get out to your listeners to where that please understand that the items that we're putting out, the decorations we're putting out, they're out there for you. We have had vandalism over at Morris F. at Jeff. We have had theft out there because we can't lock and secure that. And so we hope that the community, the kids, will see it, appreciate it, but don't destroy it, don't vandalize it, don't take it, right? And so those are some of the challenges that we face so far at one of our sites. But at the end of the day, I definitely want to give a big shout out to New Orleans East Hospital. LCMC has come on as of yesterday. There'll be a silver sponsor for out at Joe Brown Park. The Vergis family, Wade Vergis, who was one of the founding sponsors of Holidays in the Park in New Orleans East. In his passing, his daughter, Christy Vergis, has picked up the mantle, and she's continuing to carry it as one of the members on the committee and one of the sponsoring partners for Holidays in the Park in New Orleans East. But again, we're always looking for other sponsors, partners. I definitely have to give a shout out to Councilman Oliver Thomas because he does his part. He's making sure that we're receiving some funding from the Louisiana Recreation and Cultural Fund that's going towards Holidays in the Park. And he's also made sure we've had some other, whether Harris or Cox funds that came to Nord to go and support Holidays in the Park. So he's doing his part. As I mentioned, Councilman King in the West Bank, and I mentioned Councilman Green in District D. I definitely have to give a huge shout out to Councilman Oliver Thomas for not only that, but just continuous support of NORD.
So how do community volunteers and local organizations contribute to making this event successful?
Absolutely. So we have signs that'll be posted that says that it's a QR code. You can scan, you can make a donation. We're going to have it set up to where that you'll be able to scan when you drive through if you want to make a donation, whether it's $1, whether it's $1 million. There's no such thing as too little, and there's definitely no such thing as too large.
Absolutely not.
So when we think about the success of this event, we're thinking also about the people who are coming to visit. We want the communities to come and visit because if we can get it out by word of mouth, we can get it out by media, we can get it out by flyers or whatever. We need our communities to be aware that it's there and it's there for them to come out and visit.
So what are your hopes for the future of the Holiday in the Park event? Do you foresee any further expansions or changes in the coming years?
Yes, we have many hopes. Now, I know it takes gradual steps sometime, but the hope is because we have items that can be built. Hope to have some type of apprenticeship, internship, or something of that nature where we can have people to come in, work with others who know how to build these products so that we don't have to go to these big mega companies all the time to get items. We can have artwork that is done by students. We can have carpentry work that is done by different entities that help to build our brand. So, and then if we can just expand, we can light up the whole East. We have Reed, Crowder, Bullard. All of that can be lit up.
You want to light up the whole East, Mr. CEO.
Look.
Plug it again. We need some sponsors.
So we definitely need sponsors. You can definitely go to northc.org to our website, but also it's North Foundation. It's a 501c3. I have to plug that in. But listen, let me say this. I stand on the shoulders of giants that come before me. And when I tell you the committee, those persons, they're seasoned. I get put in my place all the time. And then I might get a text say, I fussed at you, but I love you, right?
That's the New Orleans way.
Hey, man, but I'm used to it, right? You got to realize some of them are former educators and et cetera. But at the end of the day, I know where their heart is.
So
right?
tell me this. This might be an exclusive. Are there any special announcements or surprises planned for this year's celebration that you can share with us right here on WBOK?
So before I put that out there, the first thing I do want to do is give a shout out to the grounds that we're standing at. Xavier University sent out their students to volunteer, and they're the ones that help hang all the ornaments out at Jill Brown for the holidays in the park. So shout out to them for the work that they came out doing. The students are volunteering. They're participating with us in a toy drive. So just a few things that I want to shout out. On December 14th, we have the Arts Council that's coming out, and they're looking to do different events. We're doing drive-thrus there, but also on December 21st, NORD is doing its annual toy giveaway. Now, we do that at Lafitte Greenway because we try to be centrally located with that, but you can go to any NORD rec center, any NORD swimming pool, even at City Hall, and drop off toys for this toy giveaway. Last year, we served over 800 kids with this toy giveaway. And also, we're looking for a sponsor. Anyone that's looking to sponsor the toy giveaway, they can come out, pass out, they can put their name on the banners and everything else, but it's about giving. It's that time of the year, right? And as a kid myself, growing up in the St. Bernard housing project, I know how it was. I knew what Christmas meant, but then I had the opportunity to see how hard my parents worked to try to give me what they could. Right. And so now we know some parents struggle during this time. And all we want to do is make it just a little easier for them. Where if a kid parents was not able to get a kids a gift, they can come through NORD and get one.
So back to my question, because I'm interested. Are there any special announcements, special guests, special surprises that we're going to see this year at the Holiday in the Park?
I'll allow Miss Claudia
come out and see.
Oh, my
stay tuned.
My Sora
come
said
out
you're
and
gonna
see.
have to come to Jill Brown and see
absolutely
for yourself. So, Sora, what is your message to families and visitors looking forward to for this year's festivities? What is your message? How do we get them out?
That has been our strategy throughout the year to think about how we can really get the families out. So in the past, what we have done, we've passed out flyers. We've done PR public stunts. We have done, but campaigns where we have to go into these neighborhoods where we know our people are underserved because, number one, they don't go out to vote. But so we just need to go where the people are. And if that's a door-to-door type of campaign, then that's what we need to do. But we want our people to have access to the resources that we have in our community.
So listen, we want to give those dates. It's already started. It's going to run through till...
It runs through till December. I keep saying
January
December.
5th.
January 5th
2025.
On a Saturday, because, of course, we know Christmas falls on a Wednesday. We said, let's keep the gates open, keep the lights on until that Saturday, the 4th. So we'll be closing out the 5th. The last night is the 4th. We're closing out the 5th. But, again, it's free. It's open to the public. Anyone that wants to make a donation, a contribution, be a sponsor. Again, shout out to New Orleans East Hospital for becoming a silver sponsor. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But also with that, anyone that want to donate anything, it's through the NORD Foundation. You'll be able to see the QR codes. You can go to NORD's website at nordc.org. You can scan the QR code. You can make a donation, and everything is tax deductible. It's because the foundation is a 501c3.
You want to check out the Holiday in the Park event. You can do so. This is their 5th year. It started December 2nd. It's going to run until January the 4th. You can the 5th. The 5th. The 5th will be the closeout date. You can go to Morris FX Jeff Stadium over on the West Bank. You can go to the Nord Administration Building at the Milne Recreation Campus, or you can go to the Crown Jewel, the Joe Brown facility out there in New Orleans East. We want to say thank you to the CEO of Nord, Larry Barabino, and Claudia Celestine for coming here talking to us about the Nord Holiday Update. And if you want to donate to Nord, you could do so at nordfoundation.org.
Yep. Now, nordfoundation.org, or you can go to nordc.org to get the link.
Get the link, y'all. Donate everything about the children and for the children. We want to put our investments and our money where our mouth is. So thank you for being here with us on WBOK. Take your kids to see the lights, y'all, and you got to go if you want to see the special guests, per my soror. Y'all, stay with us on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks.
And Kimber White Dupree.
From the front porch, y'all. You know how we do every Monday. It's Moving Monday.
And Tuesday is Trivia Tuesday.
And y'all know we have nothing but bad cheering coming through here on Wednesday.
But stick with us. On Thursday, we travel.
That's right. And Friday's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Something on your mind? Want to get it off your chest?
Holla at your people. WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to.
All day long.
I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. We're learning more about the armed robbery with one suspect dead and another behind bars. The shooting all happening in New Orleans East in the 8400 block of the I-10 Service Road at Sam's Meat Market Tuesday night. The NOPD says the worker who fired those shots is not facing any charges right now. This morning, New Orleans police are still searching for a suspect after an NOPD officer opened fire near the French Quarter. It all happened on Basin and St. Louis streets just after 6:30 last night. We're told officers spotted a car matching the description of a stolen vehicle. The NOPD has not named the officer involved in the shooting, how many shots were fired, or if the vehicle they were following was the actual vehicle reported stolen. Now, this comes as the NOPD is also investigating two separate shootings that happened yesterday. So far, we know one person was killed and another hurt. These shootings happening off of Wales Street and Bullard Avenue. The two close by, but no word on any possible connection. But if you have any information on any of these situations, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers. You know the number, 504-822-1111. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a wonderful day.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
This is wellness advocate and host of Change Your Water, Change Your Mind, Pastor David Patan. Every week, I'm educating you on how to be healthier by making simple changes to your diet. So join me every Saturday at 1 p.m. and let's get better together. Only on WBOK 1230. What New Orleans is talking about.
Hey, this is Kirby with the Curb Appeal. The holidays are here, and so is the stress of decorating your home. Let the Curb Appeal make your season magical and hassle-free. From custom tree designs to stunning holiday decor, we bring the holiday spirit right to your door. Don't wait, spots are filling fast. Schedule your service today at 504-400-9206 and get 10% off with our Black Friday special if you book before November 30th. Call or text 504-400-9206. The Curb Appeal, because your holiday memories deserve to sparkle.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
My name is Caleb Henry. And I'm Eli Henry. On behalf of the Henry family and Equity Media, we want to wish everyone a happy holiday.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wise. Shout out to my super producer, Nyron Sanders. We also want to give a huge shout out to CEO of NORD, Larry Barabino, as well as my soror, Miss Claudia Celestine, for coming talking to us about the NORD holiday update and the holiday in the park that is going to take place at Joe Brown, Milne, and on the West Bank at Morris FX Jeff Stadium. So if you are looking for somewhere free to take your kids to celebrate this holiday season, shout out to NORD for providing those opportunities free of charge to this local community. But right now in studio, we have former Senator John Johnson. He's here right now to talk to us about that upcoming December 7th election, as well as specifically speaking to those amendments and that also important amendment number 4. So good morning, Senator. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
How you doing this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good.
So look, what's your take? What's your expertise, your expert opinion regarding this upcoming election?
Well, the amendments in particular are certainly something that we should be taking a very, very hard, serious look at.
Yes.
There are 2 amendments in particular. It's a total of 4 amendments that we're going to be voting on this coming Saturday, December the 7th. 2 amendments in particular, 1 and 4, are amendments that I have some issues with.
Okay.
Amendment number 1 is an amendment that would increase the number of members on the State Judiciary Commission.
Yes.
Right now, that commission primarily consists of the Supreme Court members, 9 members. The legislature passed a bill that would allow for the increase of 5 additional members,
Oh, wow.
which would bring it up to 14. 2 members from the House of Representatives and 2 members from the Senate, and 1 member to be appointed by the governor. To me, that brings politics into decisions that have to be made on judges and attorneys. It seems to me as if we should just really keep it within the legal profession, where you have legal mind and legally trained individuals like the justices of the Supreme Court evaluating what's going on with an attorney or what's going on with a judge, because we know that, quite frankly, most of the times, well, I wouldn't say most of the times, but quite frequently, the judges and the attorneys that are targeted are people who look like you and me.
Right.
And when you start bringing politics into it, with this governor and with this legislature, that can create an issue, can create a problem. So amendment number 1, I think we should vote against it. And, of course, the other amendment, amendment number 4, which is primarily the reason why I'm here, is perhaps one that we should take an even greater look at. The proposal that is before us seems to be short and to the point, and really and truly does not explain what's going on and what would happen if amendment number 4 were to pass. There was a piece of legislation that was passed in the last regular session of the legislature. It's Act number 774. It is an 81-page bill that would be triggered if amendment number 4 were to pass. Now, there are some good parts in that act that, quite frankly, I think are beneficial to us as property owners and people who perhaps could lose their property to a tax sale. But the biggest problem that I have with it is we are taking what is called the redemptive period, which is the amount of time that you have to redeem your property if you were to lose it to a tax sale. Currently, it's 3 years. The act that is being proposed will keep the 3 years, but it would be taken out of the Constitution and put in statute. The problem is, if it is in the Constitution, the only way it can be changed is by a vote of the people. If you put it in statute, the legislature can change it. And you only need 19 members of the Senate. There are 39 members of the state Senate in Louisiana and 105 members in the House of Representatives. And you would only need 19 members from the Senate and 53 members from the House of Representatives to change it. And who's to say that, especially with the climate that we have in this country and the climate that we have in the state and the kind of leadership that we currently have in the state now, who's to say that even if you were to get a 3-year redemptive period in statute today, that during the next legislative session, it won't change. The next legislature can come in and change it from 3 years to 6 months or 3 months or 1 month if they choose to do so. So that's a problem. That's a major problem with amendment number 4. And when you look at it and read the details of the Act 774, again, which is an 81-page bill, you look at all of the changes that they're making, and they don't have to make all of these changes in order to address the problem that we're having with tax sales in this state.
So, and just in a small bite, talking about Amendment 4, you're saying that we should vote against it.
We should vote against amendment number 4, and we should also vote against amendment number 1.
So there's some WBOK listeners who are saying just vote no down the ballot for all amendments. Do you have any insight into Amendment 2? And 3.2 says it's the waiting period for final vote on budget bills. And per parlouisiana.org, a vote for it would require lawmakers to wait at least 48 hours to review proposed amendments to bills appropriating money before they can take a final vote. A vote against it will continue to allow state lawmakers to take a final vote on bills appropriating money and send them to the governor at any time in the legislative session.
That's really, for the general public, that's really not a bad concept. Now, I can understand why people would say just vote no on everything. If you don't fully understand the process, then that's probably the safest thing to do. But what happens, and the reason why this legislation is up, and I, as you know, I served in the legislature for a number of years in the House of Representatives and in the state Senate. What happens from time, and I've been on money committees. I was the chairman of the Committee on Revenue and Fiscal Affairs, which is a money committee. But what happens from time to time is at the last minute, bills come up just before the session ends, and it can be a bill involving billions of dollars, and changes are made at the very last minute where you might move money around from one section of the bill to another section of the bill. And the general public, in fairness, the general public, and in some cases members of the legislature, will not get an opportunity to see how you've moved that money from one point to the other. This amendment would allow for a 2-day waiting period so that everybody would just kind of step back and get an opportunity to read the bill and see what kind of changes, if any, have been made in moving money around from one place to the other. It's not a bad concept, but I can understand why people might say, look, let's just vote against all of them. But that, quite frankly, is beneficial to the public, and it is beneficial to the members of the legislature also, because the capital outlay bill and the appropriations bill are usually bills that are hundreds of pages. And you get a lot of amendments to come through at the last minute. And if you don't understand, if you're not a member of one of these money committees, it is difficult to understand.
Well, because here will be my pushback, right? When I read about the vote against it, it says it continues to allow state lawmakers to take a final vote on bills appropriating money. That seems like if it's continuous, you're constantly looking at it. So is that not a practice that they're already doing in terms of this idea to wait at least 48 hours to review proposed amendments? If you're continuously looking at the bill and looking at the adjustments being made, what is the difference there?
The difference is that, and I'll just walk through the process with you as to how it works. In the appropriations bill, which is the bill that generally operates state government, all of the billions and billions of dollars that we appropriate to run state government is called the appropriations bill, and it's usually House Bill number 1. That bill can be several hundred pages. Sometimes at the end of the legislative session, there are a number of amendments, and in many cases, the amendments can be quite substantial, can come before the Senate and the House of Representatives that can completely change how money is appropriated from one line item to another. And it can be, look, I've been on the Senate floor and on the House floor when we've had seconds to pass an appropriations bill that might have had 30, 40, 50 amendments. And a lot of times members of the House of Representatives, they may not have time to read it, because if you've got 30 or 40 amendments coming up at the last minute or the last hour of the closing down of the session, you don't have time to read it. And those amendments could be adopted and gone into the bill, and the bill will be sent to the governor. And sometimes members of the legislature is surprised as what is in and what is out of the bill.
So do you think that's a strategy to like just kind of sneak things in at the last moment?
In some
Because
cases.
folk don't have opportunity to read it. So why can't we change that process instead of,
That's what
this changes that process?
This changes that process.
Mm-hmm.
This amendment would change that process to say that any appropriation that is made, any money appropriation that is made,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot vote on it until 48 hours has passed to give the public and members of the legislature an opportunity to look at those amendments to see what changes have been made. That's the purpose of this amendment.
So you feel like the yes vote is beneficial, but you understand why some folk are saying, I don't really understand it in detail. That's why I'm voting no. But
yes,
from your expertise, you're saying Amendment 2, that extra 48-hour window gives not only lawmakers an opportunity to go through the bill, but it also gives the general public time to digest it as well.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what it does.
Okay.
And it is beneficial to the public, and it is beneficial to members of the legislature. I would venture to say this bill, this amendment probably came from some members of the legislature who are not members of the money committees, who are not members
Who need that additional time.
who need that
Yes.
additional time to look at these amendments because they don't know what they're voting on in some cases.
So where we are right now, you're absolutely no for Amendment 1. You're saying
Yes.
absolutely no. That's a no vote for you. You're saying Amendment 2.
Amendment 2 is
Amendment 2.
it's a decent amendment.
It's a decent amendment.
I would it is in the public's interest to have more
waiting
time.
period.
It is in the public's interest to have more time to know what's going on with the budget in state government.
So you're okay with a yes vote there, but
Yes.
you can understand why folk would say no.
Yes, right.
And then, so Amendment 3 says extension of regular session to pass budget bills. A vote for it would allow lawmakers with a 2/3 vote to extend a regular legislative session up to 6 days if they need more time to pass a bill appropriating money. Are these two amendments
Yes.
sisters?
Yes. And look, you can understand why they might need additional days because if you have to wait an additional 2 days in order to assess.
Digest a bill.
Yes. Yes.
So Amendment 2 and 3 are relative.
I think they are related.
They're related.
Yes,
Okay.
Right.
And in Amendment 4, you're absolutely saying no.
It's
no.
it's the act that would go into effect if Amendment number 4 is passed. It's an 81-page bill, and what people don't realize is that when you vote on Amendment number 4, you're voting, even though you've got these few sentences on the amendment that you would read in the booth, it actually implements an 81-page act that was passed in the last regular session of the legislature. There are some good parts in this act that need to be enacted. The problem I have with it, the big problem that I have with it is it takes the redemptive period out of the Constitution and puts it in state statute, which means that if you lose your property to a tax sale, you now have 3 years constitutionally to redeem that property, to go in and redeem that property. And the only way that can be changed is by a vote of the people. If you take it out of the Constitution and put it in the statute, it means that members of the legislature can go in and change it when they're in session during any time that the legislature is in session. They can change it from a 3-year period to a 2-year or a year or 6 months or whatever they choose to change it to. That's problematic to me.
We have a caller on line one. Good morning, Miss Alicia. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Dr. White, and good morning, Senator. I have to get used to calling you Senator again. Used to call you Councilman. So, Senator, look, number one, I thought y'all passed a bill that said that these amendments supposed to be written up in common language that we, the people, can understand what those amendments are and what do they mean. Apparently, those who are writing up these bills are not listening to that bill, or was that bill not passed?
No, I agree with you. First of all, good morning. How are you doing? It's good to hear your voice again. Look, it's obvious that is not happening. It is obvious that the way the amendment was written and put on the ballot is somewhat deceiving and somewhat misleading. And I would assume...
But Senator, I thought there was a bill that was passed that all these bills, these amendments are supposed to be in common language that we, the people, would understand to make our vote easier. Plus, we don't have that much time to digest this stuff in the booth. And I'll hang up and listen. And good to hear from you again. And also, I'm voting no for every last one of them.
Thank you, Miss Alicia. We appreciate you. What do you want to leave our listening audience with before you have to go?
That's probably the safest thing to do. If you don't understand it, vote against it would be my recommendation. But whatever you do, vote against Amendment number 4 and Amendment number 1 because those are bad amendments. And again, Amendment number 4 does have some good features to it. The biggest problem, again, is if we take the redemptive period out of the Constitution, that is a problem.
We have to go to break, but you heard it right here. Former Senator John Johnson says absolutely no to Amendment 1, absolutely no to Amendment 4. And if you do not understand 2 and 3, it's in your best interest to also vote no. Stay with us on the other side of the break. Reverend Calhoun, don't go anywhere. I would love to talk with you. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Rain continues for the morning commute, ending by mid-morning. A few lingering showers possible as that cold air continues to move through. Expect a mostly cloudy and breezy day after that. Highs will be into the mid-60s, but that's early on. As we get into the afternoon, those temperatures continue to fall. We'll be into the 50s for majority of the afternoon and the evening. There's a cold weather advisory for the North Shore Friday morning. Wind chills possibly 18 to 25 degrees. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, this is Congressman Troy Carter. I ask that you join me in voting for Eric Doc Jones for Orleans Parish School Board District 2. Eric Doc Jones is a career educator with whom I've had the pleasure of working together on many issues of importance for our community and is ready to serve as our next school board member on day one. I proudly endorse Eric Doc Jones for Orleans Parish School Board District 2. Eric Doc Jones is number 12 on the ballot.
Paid for by the committee to elect Eric Doc Jones, number 12.
New Orleans, get ready for Inspire Fest. Join us on December 7th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at McDonough 35 High School for a day of family, fun, music, and a chance to learn more about Inspire NOLA Schools, the highest performing open enrollment schools in the city. Enjoy live performances by Tanya Boyd Cannon, Brassaholics, and BJ So Cole. Bring the family, enjoy the entertainment, and see what makes Inspire NOLA different. Don't miss this unforgettable day. Find out more at InspireNOLAschools.org. Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 12:30 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
WBOK is pleased to announce the reboot of Crosstown Conversations with host Gene Nathan. A heightened focus on cultural entertainment events and the creators who present them. The new time is now Saturday at noon. Tune into the stories of our exploding creative scene with Gene Nathan on Crosstown Conversations.
My name is Darius Henderson. My name is Cornelius Frazier Jr. And on behalf of Echo Media, we would like to wish everyone a happy holiday.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Brian Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 12:30 a.m.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I want to give another shout out to former Senator John Johnson for coming through to help us break down these amendments, and also to Miss Alicia Plummer for calling in and giving her insight as to what we should do on amendments 1 through 4. But I also want to make certain that people know it is not just amendments on the ballot. You have a District 2 school board race also on the ballot between Gabrielle Libero and Eric Doc Jones. We do not want to forget that. The amendments are vital. The school board race is critical. Please make certain if you're in District 2, learn about your candidates. You have a few days to do so. Election day is December 7th. Good morning, Reverend Calhoun. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. When we look at what this whole thing is about, power and control, this governor has came in and he has now determined who's going to be the chairperson of every board and commission. He's picking who he wants to control what he wants to control. When you start understanding that these amendments, excuse me, are weasel worded, they're not designed for you to just read and understand them from just looking at what's being said. So you got to understand what the power play is. Actually, you need, if you can, look at who sponsored these amendments. The purpose of these amendments is not to help you. Again, go down the line and if you look at it, it's all to empower the legislature and the governor more to take away or control whatever he wants to control. We got to be careful. When you're talking about putting people in place to oversee Southern, which Bobby Jindal and all those people have tried to close so many times or get control of, I should say, you got to understand exactly what's going on here. My thing is, I'm with Alicia on this one. Vote no on all 4. It ain't. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to go through no changes with it. These amendments are coming not to help you, but to control you. So when I listen and I look at what's really going on, this is not about helping us or helping the people, period. I'm not going to even put it in a black and white issue. I think it's about keeping the rich rich and the poor poor. So that's where I'm at with it, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Reverend Calhoun. I appreciate you. Listen, there are certain platforms, you can do what you have to do. Here, I can't give you my personal opinion about what I want to do. I have to tell you what the ballot measure says, what your yes vote mean, what your no vote mean. But if you catch me on my own Facebook page, I will tell you exactly what I think about those amendments and who I think will best serve our children on that school board. I'm trying to do my job here. But over on my Facebook page, join me over there. I'll tell you exactly what my thoughts are. Unfiltered, straight, raw, and uncut, because that's the only way I know how to be. And that brings me to this idea of talking about those people who have funded these shadow governments that have funded the MAGA movement and the election deniers. And we try so very hard to keep our black money where our black lives are respected. But it is so frustrating when you read the list of companies who supported the insurrection and the who supported this mega takeover of our country. And if you read the list, you're like, okay, so where do I go to shop? Where do I go, to do business? Because they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And it's just, it's mind-boggling, right? They're talking now about Adams, and how he's vying for a pardon from the president-elect with these new initiatives to target immigrants in his state. It's frustrating because there's so many ways and so many corners of this country where folk believe and uphold and support white supremacy to their own demise. And it's sickening to me when you read the list. And there's a website called Open Secrets that you can go on and you can see, that J.P. Morgan and Chase donated $1 million. The New York Jets donated $2 million. It's insane when you look at the list. AT&T is on the list. UPS is on the list. Lockheed Martin is on the list. Home Depot. Like, where do you go? Where do you go? Comcast is on the list. You'll have to turn off every device in your home, every streaming service in your home. You would have to boycott every grocery store. It's insane. The number of people who support the idea that you have to have a entity that is more superior than the next. It's insane. I don't know what that does. That you can't see folk as human beings. You have to see them as something less than in order for you to feel like you're more than or are you equivalent. Like, to think about that. I think about this. And, I want to be very intentional when I say this. Yesterday was signing day where the kids signed their national letters of intent, where they're going to go and take their talents to whatever university, college, whatever of their choosing. And to see so many of our children choosing entities that don't even respect their humanity is saddening to me, because I do understand that kids need the opportunity. Kids need the opportunity. Kids need, vessels to carry themselves to the next level. I get it. I absolutely get it. But what I don't get is, how is it that you care so much? And I'm talking about right now the LSU Tigers, right? Specifically because they're being led by a black man, President Tate. And they're rolling back their DEI for the university. And so I ask myself, do you only care about diversity, equity, and inclusion? Do you only care about dismantling it when it's not the moneymaker, right? Because if you dismantle DEI on your football program, ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis, right? Think about that. Like, how do you roll back diversity, equity, and inclusion in your institution when the entire reason people are wearing purple and gold and coming to Death Valley is because of our children and their talent? Think about that. It jars me how much they go into Death Valley and they cheer for our boys, and they wear the colors and they scream and they yell. But if you take the jersey and the helmet off of them, you don't care nothing about them because you don't know them. Without their name emblazoned on the back of their uniform, you don't know them. They just look like every other black boy that you create policies to incarcerate or to kill. But it's okay as long as they running up and down your field on Saturday. I have a problem with it, y'all. I really and truly do. I have a huge problem with it. Because I want us to understand that you are the sauce. Wherever you go, you are the sauce. You are the main attraction. You are the main ingredient. I just don't understand how they can strip you of your humanity in every other area, but when they need your talent, when they need something to cheer for on Thursday night, Monday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday, then suddenly you become the main attraction. But if you strip them of that jersey, if you take the name off the back of their jersey, you take the helmet off their head, and all you can see is the locks growing out of their scalp, then they're a statistic. They're targeted. They don't matter. This is scary, y'all. It's very scary. All of these corporations donating to the demise of our people. And yet our children are so excited to put their name on a letter of intent for an institution that don't give two flying pancakes about their humanity. But I understand. But when you realize that you are the sauce, and wherever you go, you become the main attraction. Wherever you go, you elevate. You're going to start to look at HBCUs and taking them seriously. Because if the talent go to the HBCUs and the coaches start going to the HBCUs, then we will become the main attraction. Our babies will be signing letters to come and play for schools who uphold their humanity. But that's just my 2 cents. Because this is a scary time we're living in, where people are dictating everything for us. Stay with us right here and join us for the front porch. Up next, we're Graylin and Kimber. But I do think Eddie Francis is going to be on the front porch with Kimber today. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.